Okay, so yesterday we learned how to name our polynomials. Now today we're going to learn how to add and subtract our polynomials. Now our polynomials, notice I have parentheses. First thing we're going to do, let me get rid of the parentheses. So when I look at my first polynomial, the first parentheses, I'm just going to write 3n minus 5 minus 7n to the fourth. Right, there's my first polynomial. Just write it as it is. Now, when there's a plus in between my parentheses, which is the case, I'm just going to write the second parentheses without changing anything. I'm just going to write a positive 4n to the fourth plus 2 minus 2n. Right? So I write everything without parentheses. Now let me combine my like terms. Now, a few years ago, we saw the word like terms to begin with. Now, like terms are going to be those terms that have the same variable, the same letter with the same exponent. All right, so my highest exponent is n to the fourth. So I'm going to combine these two. And the way I combine like terms, I just add the coefficients, basically the numbers on the front. I combine those numbers, a -7 and a +4. All right, that's a -3. So I'm going to call this -3n to the fourth. Let me cross this out so I don't get confused. I know I already used them. All right, so the highest exponent was to the fourth. Then I see, do I have anything to the third? Do I have n to the third? No, I don't. How about n to the second? No, I don't. How about n to the 1? Yep, I see 3n minus 2n. I know 3 minus 2 is 1. So for the moment, let me write plus 1n. And let me cross this out. For the moment, plus 1n. Now, when the coefficient remembers the number in front of the letter. When the coefficient is 1, we don't write the letter. I mean, we don't write the number. So let me erase that 1. Okay. And lastly, I see anything that doesn't have a letter. I see a -5 plus 2. When I combine that, it gives me -3. So that's my answer. So remember, we write everything without parentheses. It's easy to add. When there's a plus in between the parentheses, it's easy. Now, what if there was a minus? I'll come back to that in number 10. Let's take a look at number 9 first. Let me write everything without parentheses. So I have 6r minus 7 plus 7r to the fourth minus 6r to the fourth plus 6 minus 8r. I don't do anything to my parentheses. I just get rid of them. Okay, now let me combine my like terms. The highest exponent that I see is r to the fourth. And I'm just going to combine 7 minus 6. I know 7 minus 6 is 1. So I'm just going to write that as r to the fourth. Remember, I don't write the 1 in front because remember I said earlier, when the coefficient, the number in front of the term, it's a 1, we don't write it. So I'm just going to write r to the fourth. Let me cross this out. R to the third or r to the second, I don't see any. But I can combine 6r minus 8r. 6 minus 8 is -2. So let me call this minus 2r. And lastly, -7 plus 6, that's a -1. It is not a number in front of the letter, so we do have to write the 1. Okay, so that's my answer. Let's take a look at number 10. Okay, so not much difference when we subtract. Now, notice there's a minus in between my parentheses. Not much difference than when we add. My first parentheses, let me just write it as a -5 plus 2n minus 3n squared. Nothing happens to my first parentheses. Now, on the second parentheses, technically, I will distribute the negative. What that means is basically I'm going to change the signs of every term on the second parentheses. So let me write this as plus 7 plus 8n squared minus 3n. So do notice that when we have a minus in between the parentheses, it's just basically going to switch the signs of everything in my second parentheses. Okay, so now I can combine like terms. My highest exponent is n to the second. Negative 3 plus 8 is 5. So I'm going to call this 5n to the second. Let me cross this out. Then n to the 1, I see plus 2 minus 3. That's a negative 1. So I'm just going to write negative n. Let me cross them out. And then lastly, negative 5 plus 7. That's going to be positive 2. All right, let's take a look at number 11. My first parentheses, I'm just going to write as 4 plus 3x plus 2x squared. Because of the minus in between my parentheses, I'm going to switch the signs of every term in the second parentheses. So let me write that as minus 7x squared minus 5 minus 7x to the fourth. The highest exponent is x to the fourth. I only see one term, so let me write this as negative 7x to the fourth. Let me cross that out. X to the third, don't see any. X to the second, I see 2 minus 7. So I'm going to call that minus 5x to the second. X to the 1, I only see a positive 3x. So let me write that, positive 3x. Let me cross it out. And at the end, I see 4 minus 5. So that's a minus 1. Okay, just 2 more questions. Let's take a look at number 12. My first parentheses, I'm going to write that as negative 6a to the third plus 6a to the fourth minus 8a to the second. Because of the plus in between the sign, in between the parentheses, I don't do anything to my signs on the second parentheses. So let me write this as minus 6a to the second plus 6a to the fourth minus 5. If I had a minus instead of a plus in between the parentheses, I would switch the signs of my second parentheses. Okay, so now let's combine like terms. A to the fourth is the highest exponent that I see. 6 plus 6 is 12, so let me call this 12 a to the fourth. Let's cross this out. A to the third, I see that one right there. So I'm going to call this minus 6a to the third. Now, a to the second, I see negative 8 minus 6. That's a negative 14, a to the second, and then a minus 5 at the end. Okay. Lastly, let's take a look at number 13. Let me copy my first parentheses, negative 8, a to the fourth, plus a to the second, plus 7a. Because of the minus in between my parentheses, I'm going to switch the signs of the second parentheses. So let me write that as minus 6a plus 8 minus 2a squared. Notice I switched the signs. All right, so let me combine like terms. The highest exponent that I see is a to the fourth. So minus 8a to the fourth. A to the third, don't see any. A to the second, I see 1 minus 2. So it's going to give me a negative 1, a to the second. When the coefficient, the number in front of the letter is a 1, we don't write it. So notice I just wrote minus a to the second. Now, a to the 1, I see 7 minus 6. I know 7 minus 6 is 1, so I'm just going to write that plus a. And at the end, I see a plus 8. That's it.